That was a very important car. Obviously, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar car, a very special paint code. In fact, it's a one-off paint color, and we learned after the fact that name of the paint, Azul de Lolo, was a nickname to the first owner's daughter.
Welcome back this week. I'm Renzo Rosato.
And I'm Gaston Rosato.
This is season 6, episode 14, and today we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to talk about the processes of preparing a car for the market.
That's right. Every car that comes into inventory has a different process it needs to go through, and one of the processes that we most focus on, because our cars generally come very much ready, is paint. And we're not talking about repainting, we're talking about, if you will, a paint restoration, a treatment, or a paint correction as it's known in the detail world.
That's right. So a few episodes back, we did review the Ferrari Sergio.
We are enjoying every moment of this today.
If you haven't seen that, when we're done here, go check that video out. What an exciting day that was. But we did mention that we're going to go over the process of getting that car prepared for the client.
Yeah, that was a very important car. Obviously, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar car, a very special paint code. In fact, it's a one-off paint color, and we learned after the fact that name of the paint, Azul de Lolo, was a nickname to the first owner's daughter. We really wanted to go on and beyond for this paint correction and PPF, which is a paint protection film, to preserve for a long-term situation on such an important car. So let's go step by step, where it begins and where it finishes to give it the ultimate treatment.
So hit that subscribe button, guys, and let's get this started.
All right, folks, let's start at the very first step of this entire process. And it's probably the most important process because it's the foundation, right? And that's decontamination.
That's right. So the decontamination, what we did, first start off with washing the car with a pH neutral shampoo using a twin grit guard bucket system so that we can avoid any particles, any sharp particles or metal particles getting into the paint while you're washing it with the mitt.
That's right, very important. Then we focused on all the small details like the door jambs, the gas cap, the exhaust, the wheels, and all those components are cleaned with acidic-free, citrus-based, specifically designed chemicals, and all brushed down with horsehair brushes. And the whole last process of decontamination is done with the clay bar to remove all bonded surfaces contaminants.
All right, so after the decontamination, we jump into what's known as a paint treatment, right? So this is a multiple stage process of a paint correction that's done to the car. One of the reasons we want to do this is because this paint correction will get rid of swirl marks, holograms, any little paint defects that are in there are removed.
Right. So the idea is, after decontamination, meaning the paint has nothing in there except for the paint, but the paint can be uneven over time. Right. And that's what we're trying to correct here, right? Double stage polish using different thicknesses of compounds, different size and different types of pads to achieve that, including wet sanding.
Correct.
So wet sanding throughout the entire car. And what that does is just, like we just said, even out the paint entirely and have a consistent paint code. And we check that using a digital microscope in different areas of the car to ensure that as in fact, we're getting true correction.
Right, exactly. And the reason why I want to do this is because the next step to this is getting the car wrapped with a PPF, right, a paint protection film. But you don't want to put that film over a paint that's not perfect.
Right. So think of it on a decal, right? You want to slap a sticker on your car.
Right.
You can do that, but if you don't clean the surface properly, you're not going to get, the long-lasting sticker, essentially. And this goes beyond that because this is not only the application of the paint protection film, it's the pop in the color that you also want to achieve. Now, moving forward into the third step of this process is applying the paint protection film, okay? First of all, we want to thank our partners in this, Unlimited Wraps. Extremely helpful. We've done a lot of work with them, and they are our go-to guys. So please give them a visit, and link will be down below. They went with the absolute best for this car, the Excel Ultimate Pro. It is a virtually invisible layer of urethane that goes on the car. Renzo, you and I have tested this. We've put it to the test. We have it on our personal car. On the Raptor, you cannot break through it. It's gonna protect against scratches, scrapes, chips, scuffs, all that day-to-day stuff. The product is amazing. It has self-healing properties, so even if it did suffer a scratch, it will...
In the sun alone.
The heat of the sun will, you know, up to a certain point, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But it's the best in the market out there right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. And one of the, I think the great jobs that Unlimited Wraps did on this car was when you take a car to get wrapped or a PPF, speaking in a regular production car, you know, if you take your 458, your 488, they can plug it into the computer. The system has the dimensions. The computer cuts this paper,
panels, right?
The panels the way it's supposed to be. Now what happens with the Sergio is this is not something that's in their system. So this all had to be done custom, I guess you can say.
It was all handcrafted.
Yeah.
And in order to achieve even a higher level, because you could do panel by panel,
right?
But you could see this, where the seams are basically, where one panel starts, the other one ends. In order to achieve, again, absolute perfection, they use panels up to 10 feet long and 72 inches wide to cover big areas of the car where you just don't even realize the car has a wrap. So, I mean, the work was phenomenal. You wouldn't know it's there, and this gives it long time protection. And ultimately, you can remove it, and everything is okay.
Exactly, exactly. So let's go on to the final step, the fourth part of this entire process, to finish it off and to have the car delivered to the client.
It's like the cherry on top.
Exactly. So the car now goes back to Brembo Auto Care with the decontamination, the paint correction, went over to Unlimited Wraps, get the PPF, now back to Brembo so that we can get the car ceramic coated. So on top of all of this, even with the protection of the PPF, we put the ceramic coat on top of that. So it keeps the car clean, easier to maintain, and it obviously helps it pop even more.
Even more so. So the ceramic coating is actually a chemical process of nano structures that creates a network of molecules on the surface. But the best way to describe this is hydrophobic. That's what you're creating, a hydrophobic surface that will repel all environmental contaminants, liquid, brake dust, water. It repels it immediately. So it gives it this entire coating throughout the entire car, and not only does it protect it, like we just mentioned, it just also, it gives it a gloss that it looks deep, it looks beautiful, it looks shiny, and this car truly deserved that. This same process was applied to the glass, all the exterior glass of the car, the brake calipers, and the wheels.
And I think it's very important to mention that in the wheels, because in these cars, that brake dust really just makes a mess. So having that, doesn't mean you're not gonna have brake dust if you're using the car, but you get the hose and it just washes off so easily. Yeah. And it keeps it just clean.
It keeps it clean, it keeps it shiny, it keeps it beautiful.
That's right.
So, what a process. It sounded very quickly and easily, but the fact is, it took several weeks to accomplish this.
Yeah.
I think it was well worth it. We want to thank again our partners in this, Brembo Auto Care and Unlimited Wraps, for helping us achieve this successfully. We want to thank you, all the viewers, and if you have any questions or concerns regarding this, please feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to guide you in the same process for your car. In the meantime, Renzo, we'll be back next week.
That's right.
We want to thank you all again. Please hit that subscribe button.
I'm Renzo Rosato.
And I'm Gaston Rosato.
Peace out.
Till next week.